I was talking with my brother the other day about how difficult it is to show a 3D printer print on video. At full speed, everything is moving too fast to really understand what's happening. Mounting the camera to the printer bed fixes that. Now the print head is the only thing that looks alive. On the Bamboo Lab A1, a pin slides into the front left underside of the bed. The mount slides into place. The pin holds it there, and friction does the thinking. No force required. That detail sets the rules. So before designing a camera mount, I designed a question. The first version isn't about the camera at all. It's just a box. A simple rectangular base with a slot along the front edge. That slot is the experiment. It exists to see if the part slides in cleanly, locks into the corner the way it should, and stays put once the bed starts heating and moving. No angles, no adjustments, no camera in sight. This print is fast, disposable, and brutally honest. If it fits, we move forward. If it doesn't, we learn why. Because in good design, you don't start by adding features. You start by making sure the part belongs exactly where you're about to put it. We start with a rectangle, but not just any rectangle. This one knows where it lives. Centered on the origin, anchored to the axes, calm and intentional. Nothing floats, nothing guesses. Every corner is invited to the party by symmetry, not by chance. Then comes the first decision that matters. One number to rule them all. 45 millimeters, not because it's magical, but because it's named. The moment we call it base_size, the sketch stops being geometry and starts being a system. From here on out, everything listens to that value. Width isn't typed, height isn't remembered, they're derived, quietly, reliably. Expressions slip in next, not flashy, just precise. 2.5 times the base. Dimensions stop being measurements and start being relationships. You're not drawing a shape anymore. You're defining behavior. And then the sketch stretches. Cleanly. Predictably. The top edge reaches its full span, perfectly centered. The solver nods. Still green. Still happy. Now we soften it. A corner gives way to an arc. Not decorative, but deliberate. Tangent on both sides. Radius tied back to the same shared language as the rest of the sketch. No rogue numbers, no one-offs. The curve belongs here because it fits the logic, not because it looks nice. More expressions, same story. The radius isn't chosen, it's inherited. A few red arrows flash as constraints fall into place. The sketch resists for half a second, then yields. Everything locks. Degrees of freedom drop to 0. And there it is, fully constrained, not frozen, resolved. This is the quiet win moment in FreeCAD. When the solver says fully constrained, what it really means is, I understand what you meant. No guessing, no surprises later in part design. Just a sketch that knows who it is, where it is, and how it scales when you change your mind. That's not just drawing, that's design. All right, now the block becomes useful. We start by giving the sketch some depth. Nothing fancy here, a straight pad, 22 millimeters, just enough mass to feel intentional, not bulky. This is the moment where the 2D logic finally stands up and becomes a real object. You can rotate it, catch the light. It exists now. But this isn't just a block. It needs to dock. So we flip back into Sketcher, this time on the end face, the one that's going to meet the printer bed. We ground the sketch with external geometry. The moment the sketch opens on that end face, we pull the edges of the solid straight into Sketcher. They light up in purple, not as decoration, but as a contract. This is the handshake between sketch and solid. From here on out, nothing floats, nothing drifts. The geometry is attached to something real. With those references in place, we draw the slot rectangle and attach it directly to the external geometry. Not eyeballed, not implied, constrained. The sketch isn't guessing where the face is, it's responding to it. Now we're ready to give the square some dimensions, starting with width. Width isn't measured, it's derived. Expressions pull it from the base value, keeping the slot in proportion no matter how the model changes. The depth is where theory meets plastic. The printer bed is 13 millimeters thick, but printers don't care about theory. Plastic expands, layers stack, and friction always shows up uninvited. So we shave half a millimeter off and land at 12.5 millimeters. Snug, intentional, forgiving. Now we add a construction line. Because it's created inside the slot rectangle, FreeCAD automatically drops it dead center. No extra constraints needed. It's already centered within the square. The only thing left to do is tie that center line back to the external geometry, so the slot isn't just centered in the sketch, but centered on the part itself. A couple of constraints later, the solver turns green, fully constrained. Close the sketch and perform the cut. A clean pocket straight into the body. And when it's done, this isn't just a padded block anymore. It's a part with intent. A slot that knows its size, its position, and exactly what it's meant to hold. After printing the test block, the experiment moved from theory to thermodynamics. The geometry was right, the fit was tight, the slot behaved exactly the way the model said it would. And then the heat made its entrance. Energy transfer was expected. A heated bed at temperature is not subtle. What wasn't anticipated was persistence. The bed didn't just warm the contact area, it fed it, constantly, patiently, relentlessly. And plastic, under sustained thermal load, tells the truth. The material softened beyond expectation. Cohesion weakened. Structural confidence faded. The edges didn't gently distort, they surrendered. Warping wasn't a rounding error, it was dramatic. This wasn't a mistake in measurement, it was a miscalculation in energy. The heated bed behaved like a thermal reservoir, and the mount became its conduit. So the solution wasn't tighter tolerances, the solution was interrupting the physics. The part was redesigned to include a deliberate cavity, a narrow channel sized for thin cardboard strips. Nothing high-tech, just cellulose standing between sustained heat and structural integrity. A thermal break, a pause in the energy transfer. Same geometry, new understanding. With that small thermal break in place, performance shifted immediately. The insulation disrupted the energy flow. Rigidity held. Warping stopped being the headline. Stability returned. Because sometimes the fix isn't redesigning the structure. It's controlling the environment the structure lives in. Now that the issue has been identified, it's time to create the thermal break. A new sketch attaches to the lower interior surface of the cavity. External geometry comes in first. Front, back, and sides. Every edge is projected into the sketch as purple reference lines. Those lines define the cavity. Not assumed, defined. To make the interior readable, the body is temporarily hidden. One click on the visibility icon in the model tree, and the solid disappears. The view clears instantly. Just constraints and intent. Inside a cavity, clarity is control. The side edges anchor the insulation rectangle directly. The front and back remain as reference guardrails. Visual confirmation that spacing is deliberate and symmetric. Nothing floats. The insulation channel forms as a rectangle positioned 4 millimeters in from the cavity edges. The sides are constrained to the external geometry. Placement is deliberate, precise. Dimensions are expression-driven, tied back to the base size from the first sketch. One master value, everything else responds. Change the base, and the insulation adjusts automatically. The solver turns green, fully constrained. A shallow pocket carves the first channel along the lower edge, just deep enough to accept a strip of cardboard. But this isn't a straight cut. A 45-degree taper angle is applied to the pocket walls. 45 degrees. Not decorative, strategic. That taper turns the channel into a wedge. When the cardboard slides in, it doesn't simply rest in place. It grips. It locks itself in through geometry alone. This is one of those features hiding in plain sight inside the pocket tool. Most people use it to remove material. Few use it to shape behavior. That tiny angle transforms a slot into a retention system. Geometry with attitude. Once the lower channel is in place, symmetry becomes inevitable. Heat doesn't care which side it approaches from. In FreeCAD, mirroring requires a reference, an axis, a face, or a plane. Our feature does not sit on a global axis, and the cavity is internal, so there is no natural surface to mirror across. Rather than sketch the feature twice, we introduce a datum plane to establish a clean mirror reference through the part's center. One feature, reflected once, perfectly aligned. My first instinct is to attach that plane using inertia 2 to 3. On paper, it sounds perfect. That attachment mode calculates the body's center of mass and places the plane directly through it, the true balance point of the part. We let the model find its own middle. Elegant, automatic. It is physics-driven, and that matters. The plane aligns to the principal axes of the body's mass distribution. If the geometry is perfectly symmetric, FreeCAD may display a warning that certain inertia axes are undefined, not because the plane has failed, but because symmetry makes some rotational directions mathematically interchangeable. The center location remains valid. In our case, that center is exactly what we need. The plane passes cleanly through the part. It serves perfectly as a mirror reference. Understanding what the warning means allows us to use the method confidently, rather than avoid it. Or, if you prefer to play it safe, the datum plane can be defined purely by geometry. We attach it to the bottom face of the base pad, drive its attachment offset with an expression equal to half of the base pad's length, then enable the flip sides option to center the plane. Now the model finds its own middle, not by balance, not by weight, but by the quiet authority of its governing dimension. Insulation channels now exist on both the top and bottom of the cavity, centered, aligned, and driven by the same base dimension. The thermal path is interrupted from both directions. Energy still exists. It just no longer gets a straight line. When heat becomes the villain, the hero isn't thickness, it's strategy. And this time, geometry wins. And this brings us to a good place to pause. The base fits, the slot works. The heat problem showed up, caused trouble, then got outsmarted by cardboard and intentional geometry. At this stage, it is still only the foundation. A fitted block, a protected cavity, a thermal path interrupted before it can cause trouble. It can sit where it belongs, but it can still move around. Next time, the peg system takes over. The printer's own screw hole becomes the reference point. The locking feature gets built into the mount, turning this fitted block into something that can hold its position. After that, the camera mount finally gets its purpose, holding the camera. So for now, this is where the build pauses. If you learned something new, or just enjoyed watching FreeCAD turn a simple block into a polite disagreement with physics, please give the video a like, subscribe for more FreeCAD Made Easy videos, and drop a comment with your thoughts. As always, your comments are appreciated. Until next time, thank you for watching.